You are live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Unity of Springfield, adult education, world religions class here. My name is John Braucher, and we're going to continue on the journey of the self-compassion talk, and it's based on a book by Kristen Neff, psychologist, who her whole life work has been studying self-compassion. And so this is our the topic. I've been reading her for some time and practicing this in a practice when I used to do therapy. Integrated that into therapies. So and last time that I did this was in December. We did part one. We covered the basically the compassion for others. We did an exercise on judging and not judging. We talked about the Lake Wobegon effect, where all the women are strong and all the men are good looking and all the children are above average. In fact, that people tend to think of themselves as being above average, okay? Just in general. And that there's an issue with this comparison thing. It sets us up to then compare ourselves to other people, and even though we go around wanting to think of ourselves as being better than someone, we often, because of that comparison, we often feel ourselves as being inferior to someone, and which becomes a dilemma in our sense of self. Talked about the core components of self-compassion, which are being kind to ourselves or self-kindness, the awareness of our interconnectedness, that we're all having this physical experience as spiritual beings. And the third is mindfulness, that just being aware in the current moment and consciously choosing self-compassion. So those are basically the three steps. And as the three doorways in was also mentioned in the last, and that is when you notice you are in pain, you have three doorways in. One is you can give yourself kindness and care. You can remind yourself that encountering pain is part of the shared human experience, and you can hold your thoughts and emotions in mindful awareness, which is basically read in a different words what I just shared. We talked about some exercises, including compassion, journal, exercise on noting practice, and noticing the criticizer, the criticized, and the compassionate, the empty chair technique, the soul technique, where you see yourself in the role, in all three different roles of being a criticizer, being compassionate, and then being the person who notices. And a lot of this, of course, is about getting out of our egoic self. So to get started, both for you, those of you on live stream as well as here, is to do a little bit of an opening meditation. So just get comfortable. And listen to your breathing. And then remember something that from time to time creates mild to moderate suffering in our lives. And then I want you to respond and repeat in your own mind's ear the phrases that I'm going to share with you. And I'll call it Christian mantra. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion I need. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion I need. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion I need. Okay. You can open your eyes. This is a quote by Herman Hesse. You know quite well, deep within you, that there is only a single magic, a single power, a single salvation. And that is called love. Well then, love your suffering. Do not resist it. Do not flee from it. It is your aversion that hurts, nothing else. The reason why I really like the mantra technique is because it's something that you can memorize easily and carry with you wherever you are. So when you have a moment out in the world and something disturbs you or something in our minds comes into our minds, we have a remembrance or a feeling or something triggers us, that we have something that is easily accessible to us that we can use to just get centered and remind ourselves that we're just human and everybody else is human, and that we have the choice to be kind to other people, but also to ourselves. And we talked sometime, a little bit last time, about that some of us are more comfortable with doing for others and being kind to others than we are with ourselves. And so this is to try to kind of break that rut of when we feel this need to be compassionate, to share it with ourselves and others, especially when we notice our own pain and suffering. And of course, pain is just something that comes with life. I mean, it's just normal. So the first part of this second part of this book is, or the way I broke it down, she had different sections, but I broke it down into two parts. Emotional resilience, and that kind of caught my eye. That self-compassion has a strong relationship to protecting folks from depression and anxiety. Our brains evolved to be highly sensitive to negative information so that the fight or flight response could be triggered quickly and easily in the brain's amygdala. Positive information isn't as crucial to immediate survival as it is to long-term survival. So we pay attention more to that negative information. We're hardwired that way. So it's not that there's something wrong with you. It just means that we're all human. And part of our survival mechanism, part of our evolution of the brain was that why humans survived and Australopithecus didn't is that we had that ability to sense danger and those negative emotions are related to that, even though we're no longer in physical danger because of these negative emotions. They still play that same part in the brain, so that we focus on the negative more. And not only that, but it tends to be repetitive. So Rick Hanson, author of Buddha's Brain, says, our brain is like Velcro for negative experiences, but Teflon for positive ones. Now, we can change that, and we'll get to that. But we can't change the hardwire. So we can do interventions to make our mind more Teflon-like to negative information. But it takes effort. And it takes effort to repeat, make the positive have a rut and become more repetitive and come to us more easily. Which, again, takes effort. Doesn't happen accidentally. It's definitely one of those conscious choices that we need. So,
Well, you have to,
that's what.
yeah, you can
In a roundabout way, you have to accidentally on purpose change your mind.
Sometimes that's the way that it happens. Or we can, on purpose, consciously on purpose, choose the path to remind ourselves. Get a V8 and just remind ourselves. So the broken record, when our mind gets something negative caught in it, that's called rumination.
it's called what?
Rumination.
Okay.
Which is also the word that for cows chewing their cud.
Yeah.
Because it's a repetitive process. It goes into one stomach and they chew on it, and then it goes into their second stomach, and then it comes back and they chew on it, and then it goes back into another stomach, and then it flows to the rest of their digestive tract. And it's called rumination because of the repetitiveness of the processing. And the only reason I just thought it was in the book, but I also thought, man, that's a good way to remember it. It's a very graphic, description of what rumination is, and kind of the way some of those thoughts can be, those negative thoughts, kind of gross and not very tasteful. Of course, cows like it. I don't. So the trick, of course, is when we hold these negative thoughts in non-judgment, when we follow the second agreement, and we don't take things personally, and we withhold judgment from ourselves about whatever it is that's happened. I mean, if I say something hurtful to someone accidentally, and I feel terrible about it, it's already done. Okay, and I don't feel good about it. And at first I need to sit with it. And if I can sit with it without judgment, I know in my own heart, I didn't do it to hurt them. But it did slip out. And I did it. So one is just accepting it, but accepting it without judgment, without crucifying myself with it, without following up with, oh, I always do this, I'm stupid, this whole litany of negative responses that then comes down in our, that's the Teflon, is to let that go, let it slide, notice it. It's still a hot pan. There's still some pain involved with, not feeling good about having done that. And it can be a lesson, part of the price of tuition, if you will, to learn a different way of saying things, of doing things, and maybe a motivation to say to myself, note to self, be aware of this situation. As now I know. And I know that I have sometimes, especially when we get up, we're already tired, frustrated, hurt in other ways. These ruminations start to occur, and then sometimes they come out of our mouth. Even when they're not really intended to be directed at that person. But that person might be the people that are closest to us, the people who we hang with.
Probably usually are.
Yes. And so we say these things, or I say these things, and then I go, oh. So how can I be better? And it's only by awareness. It's only by seeing it coming. And the only way I can learn is to be in the moment, not to go back and then remember, I've done this 150 times, or I've got this event that I'm going to go to, and I'm going to be talking to these people, and my mouth's just going to say all this stuff. That's in the future, and that's, but if we stay right here in this current moment, what do I do now? And is there something? Can I apologize? Can I bust myself right in the moment and go, I just want to explain. I had this rumination, this thing that was going through my mind, and some stress, and I said this, and it's not the real. That's not my intention whatsoever. And just be honest and go, sorry. Yeah.
I think what's helping me the most is knowing that this has all been pre-planned, and that I don't have to feel sorry for anything that I've ever done. All I have to do is look at it and go, well, what was the lesson both of us had to learn at that moment? Because there is a lesson. As long as I keep it positive, I don't bring anything negative forward. And I try to find the positive in whatever happened in that situation.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, in the long game. And we're learning. We're in the playground of life. So, there for me there is a motivation that I want to do better as time goes on. So the exercise 1 is to deal with difficult emotions. And the reason is difficult emotions is a precursor often to struggling with the negative thoughts. So what's an emotion?
Feeling,
Energy and motion.
That's what I always think, energy and motion, yeah.
Okay. And is it in our head? Is it in our body?
maybe your consciousness.
Is it a
It could be
spiritual?
it could be all of that.
Yeah, I mean, and Paul, you're right that it's it's kind of transcendent in a way, but it's physical. It's a physiological response to our internal, external, and transcendent environment. And it's our physical response that we feel. And so you can usually find it somewhere. Yeah.
Abraham says it's the indicator of the feeling between ourselves, which would be our physical self, and our spirit. And when it's positive, we're in line with who we are. And if it's negative, it's an indication that you're not thinking the thoughts that your higher self is thinking. And so, it's an indication so that you can line up with who you really are. And I think that has helped me to understand my emotions better.
Sure. Yeah, and I agree with that. And one of the reasons I like the Abraham explanation is that it is the simplicity of it. Our experience, however, isn't as simple as that. So the practice is to start is to just get comfortable, either sit or lie down, and notice the location of the uncomfortable feeling. Throat, head, gut, heart. Where is it? Is it tingling, burning, pressure, tightness, numbness? Numbness is one that a lot of people feel when the emotion is really overwhelming. And is an indication that you want to help yourself. And you may even want to get help from others in helping yourself. Because if it's so painful that you've numbed, then you don't want to just pick at it without preparation, without skill, without support. Be gentle and observe your own limits. Once you feel in touch with the painful emotion in your body, send it compassion. Soften it. I know this is really difficult. And use a term of endearment, whatever that is, to yourself. Whatever you might want to be called by somebody who was caring for you. And that's very personal and individual. She gave some examples that probably a lot of women it would be very acceptable to them. It's a little more of a struggle, I think, with men. Because we were enculturated much differently as children. But in any regards, just to tell yourself, I know this is difficult. I'm sorry you're in pain. I'm sorry you're in this situation. And then soothe. Imagine caressing the spot on your body where the emotion is. As if you were caressing the head of a child who is crying or who had just hurt themselves, fallen someplace and hurt themselves. Except you're doing this to yourself. But do it as if you were doing it for a child. And then reassure yourself that it's all okay and all is well. When you feel yourself getting carried away by thoughts of the situation, which we're likely to do, simply bring yourself back to that physical presence, that physical sensation, without judgment, without the thoughts. Because the thoughts mediate the physiological experience. And we're choosing to think the thoughts of compassion. So what we have on our tape recorder is something else. And when we notice that those negative thoughts, this way we put ourselves down when we have negative emotions, comes on, notice that, go back to the physical sensation and choose the compassion response. So we're starting to re-record our cognitive thinking response in a caring way to ourselves. And this takes some effort, takes some time to re-record over the stuff that just comes automatically to us. But it's worth the effort, and it's not that complicated. The second portion of this is the idea of feeling it all. So self-compassion helps to lessen the negative emotions, but it's important to remember that it doesn't try to push the negative emotions away. And in all the studies that have been done, and Dr. Neff really studied these a lot, and researched them, and researched what all other people studied, all the people from positive psychology and other parts of psychological research. And it's totally clear that we have no ability whatsoever to consciously suppress unwanted thoughts and emotions. And just like, and Abraham will tell you this too, if you focus on it, it's in your face. Okay? So if you try to suppress, you're just giving it more energy. So that's something that's really important to remember, because sometimes when people are trying this self-compassion, they get a little loose with it and are expecting not to have any negative feelings and thoughts. And then when they do come on, oh, well, I'm doing this wrong, I have to push it away. And that's just clearly not effective. It doesn't work. So don't do it. If it doesn't work, I mean, it's not, and yet it's a knee-jerk reaction that we all have done and will all continue to do when we're not present in the current moment, when we're not mindful. So but there's nothing that's ever shown that pushing it away is helping. It may push it out of the way. We can anesthetize ourselves with large amounts of substances or some other activity that increases our dopamine levels or opiate levels in our brains to such an extent that we don't feel it. But it's not going away. It's coming back, right? And it will come back stronger because we had to push away from it. And there I have that Christian mantra on outline there that I did at the beginning, that we did in the orientation. Because it's a good time, you need to admit that it's a moment of suffering. That's the first step. Second step is normalize it. It's human. I'm not somehow broken, unworthy, is the reason why I'm experiencing this, and all these other messages that we've been enculturated into. It's just I'm human. And I have an opportunity to be kind to myself. So the first phrase, yeah, it's important it's just the fact that you're in pain. The second one is that it's just a part of life, you're part of the human condition. The third one is bring a sense of caring and concern to the present experience. And the fourth one is the intention, a strong intention to do something about it, to take a kind action for yourself. Taking a walk out in the woods, putting on some calm music, or energetic, whatever feeds your soul. Reach out to a friend, whatever is being something, whatever that intention is that you go, yeah, this is probably going to help. And that firm intention reminds you that you're worthy of receiving compassionate care. So in your mind, again, you're rewiring that the positive can become repetitive, and that you can let that when you face, starting with that first step, when you go ahead and face the pain and then transmute it to a positive response, then that makes it more Teflon, makes the negative thoughts and emotions more Teflon-like, and they don't have to ruminate. So we're just kind of reprogramming. Exercise 2 is developing your own self-compassion mantra. So we have this one that Kristen did, which is, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment, and may I give myself the compassion I need. And again, they have the function of being mindful that you're in pain. The second is that reminds you of your humanness. The third one is the acknowledgement that I can be kind to myself in this moment, that I have that option. And the fourth one is a specific intention. So I'd like each of you just go ahead right now and see if you can just put together a quick and dirty compassion mantra for yourself, a self-compassion mantra for yourself. Just using those four components. I'll give an example. The first one being, this hurts. second one is, it hurts because I'm being sensitive to this situation. And aware. The third is, I can do something about it. The fourth one is, I'm going to find the skill that works on this specific situation here, right here in the near future. And right now, that's my focus. In this current moment, is my focus is to find that way of being kind for this specific pain, this specific hurt. And I think, anyway, so, and again, I'm gonna revisit this for myself, but it's, and it'll change with the situation, with the kind of pain. Sometimes it's interpersonal, sometimes it's decisions that are made, and I go, oh, why did I do that? And sometimes it's physical health. So, but so they, it, you know, could have some different variations that you might want to. Does anybody have any examples? Thank you.
Last Sunday night, I was laying on my couch watching TV and had my laptop and searching the internet for something, and then all of a sudden I noticed that my right knee walked up on me. So I got up and moved around, got it limbered up, and so this past week I've been getting out walking, and I got it back to almost normal again, and the pain told me I needed to get up and do something about it, so I did.
There you go.
So if I could have just laid there and complained about the pain, but that wouldn't affect nothing. So I knew if I got up and started exercising, it'd limber up and get back to normal.
And what I love about that, your example there, it's the attitude of self-compassion. Where that just seemed like a no-brainer because that's the attitude. Okay. That's where I'm going with it. And hopefully, when we reprogram ourselves, that's what happens. We don't even need to micromanage it so much, but once we have that attitude, we kind of flow right into it. So, exercise 2 is misnomer. We just did the developing self-compassion, and I made an error. So really, that's exercise 3 that's adapted from Paul Gilbert, which is a compassionate imagery. And again, this is another skill that we can use, that we can carry around. And it's relatively simple. It's something we can do that is easy. We can train ourselves, and then we have it. So this one is, we create an imaginary safe space. or it could be real. I mean, some of us have like a little meditation corner in our house, and that often is just, I mean, you just sit there and all just instantaneously just in this safe, peaceful place. So if you have that, it's already, that's fine. If you don't, create that for yourself. So you can have that safe space for yourself. And then create an image of this person who's non-judgmental, caring, has concern for your welfare. This could be a Buddha image, a Jesus image, a grandfatherly image, a motherly image, whoever, whatever that is for you that works. But it's this person who has no judgment towards you, and you just know inherently this person cares about. And it can be real or imagined. But work at imagining and being able to describe that person in your own mind's eye. And then, what comforting words would this figure share with you? What would they say to you in your time of discomfort? How would his or her voice sound? And what would the sound of that voice, what would that kind of convey to you? And sit with that. Sit with that message that compassionate figure sends and shares. And then just release that compassionate image and bask in the feelings that were generated by that. Allowing yourself to receive the gift of kindness. So one of the things that Kristen Neff, Dr. Neff, talks about is even with all these techniques, she still messes up. She still gets upset, says really negative things to herself, and then spouts out at other people and doesn't seem very compassionate. And it doesn't eradicate pain or negative experiences. It just embraces those negative experiences with kindness. So the issue is just being mindful of it. So that when you fall into the old traps, when you feel, the sooner that we bust ourselves and go, I don't need to do this. I don't need to be hard on myself. I don't need to say these negative things. I can identify them as being these tape recordings. And I can move on. And then we can veer into practicing self-compassion as a subtle way of resisting negative emotions. Well, no, that's the thing. If we veer into practicing self-compassion as a way of resisting negative emotions, they'll often get worse. So don't take it too seriously. When you detect egoic behavior in yourself, smile. This is by Eckhart Tolle. At times you may even laugh. How could humanity have been taken in by this for so long? Because we take ourselves too seriously. We think, my job, I'm falling down on them. Yeah.
I had heard that, if you're wanting to find enlightenment, lighten up.
And that's true. Go ahead.
I find that sentence that you have there, that you just said, very intriguing. When we're practicing self-compassion as a way of resisting negative emotions, so often get worse. And I'm wondering, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, or anybody's thoughts are on this, but could this just be a way of peeling away the layers, like peeling away the layers of an onion, for instance, letting that outer dry sheathing go, and you get to the next layer, and then you can let that one go. Yeah, because I do believe that it's important to do that, practicing self-compassion, and I know for me in the inner work that I do on a daily basis, it does help a lot, and yes, our whole lives, I don't think we ever lose that dark side of the ego too, But I do believe it is peeling away some of it and opening up other things that then we can start working on.
Right. And I think to that, in Paul, some of what you're saying is as we as we peel something back and we are able to live with it really comfortable, we build a confidence that then we can take on an even deeper pain that previously was still in the numb category because we weren't ready. We didn't have the confidence. We didn't have the skills. We weren't ready. And so, yes, I agree. John Kabat-Zinn calls it scaffolding. You get up and you get this one epiphany, and you've got, okay, see, I'm enlightened,
Done it all. Done.
and then you say, oh, there's something else beyond there, and there always is. That's our brains can't see it all.
I think what we have to understand also is that we pick up energies off of other people. It's not that you can't become aware and stand back away from the negative ego. It's just that the negative ego, through emotions, through other people, is flying around here like a bird looking for a place to land. You can turn your ego to positive, and that's what I truly believe. And I find that a lot of the issues that I have is ancestral. I had to go back and recognize that a lot of the DNA that I carry around with me come from my ancestors. And so I have to go back and look where they came from and when they came and what they did through history. And I thank God that I had learned all of this history stuff, in a sense, before I got to the point I had to try to deal with the inner stuff inside me. And the more inner stuff I find, and I can hear my ancestors going, go, buddy, go, because they want to get rid of it too. And we have this societal issue in which that person going down the street screaming and yelling and yelling at everybody in their mind, and the energy they're putting off is an energy that just drove by you. And this energy's out there. And so I can get into the same car with them, or I can recognize that maybe I'm just picking up energy off of a person that is having a difficult time. And maybe the best thing I can do for that person is just send a prayer of confidence to them that, you're okay. It's all going to be fine. Because I think we get a lot more of you're bad than we get you're good. So.
Right. And I think a part of the habit compassion leads to making it more natural and more an easier habit to do the compassion to others. Not that people don't already, aren't already compassionate, because some people I know that are really hard on themselves are extremely kind to some other people, to other people. And I think though that there's a struggle when they have that negative stuff, and in other situations, you know, like they may be super compassionate in their job, but it may really struggle with certain relationships, certain painful relationships that they have. You know, and you always have, you know, one of the things that the lack of self that I didn't mention, or I mentioned it last time, that people who practice self-compassion have way less depression, way less negative anxiety than people who don't practice self-compassion. And when we experience painful events and painful experiences, we have really four choices. We can get ticked off, we can be afraid, we can be depressed, or we can be kind or love. You know, those really are the four options. And the depression and the anxiety is not in the current moment. The depression is in the past, the anxiety is in the future. The anger could be a current action, or it could be kind. And those are our choices to how we respond to this negative energy, whether it's coming from outside of us or inside of us. We have these choices. And it happens so often, like you know, it's all around us. We're like in this milieu, the soup of energy. That if we don't consciously, purposefully train ourselves to respond in a way that works for us, like in the Abraham, what I've learned in the Abraham is I check where are my emotions and what is going on right now. Not what happened last week or what, you know, but what's going on right now, and how do I feel right in this current moment? And what does that tell me? What do I want? What do I not want? And then what way do I calibrate? And Abraham is very much into the self-compassion, because he's saying, find your bliss. Or they're saying, find your bliss. Do what feels good, what makes you feel joy and bliss. And what more of a kind thing can we do for ourselves?
Find a positive end of the stick.
Yes. Or yeah, and in the continuum, looking at where are we now, and what can I do that's closer to kindness, closer to what feels right, what feels whole in me. And you know, there's the meta thing that Jerry talks about, you know, which is, you know, ultimately it's all good, it's all okay, you know, which is a good thing to know. But in life, we're where the rubber meets the road, and we're just dealing with whatever it is that's going on right here in the current moment. And if we truly can stick in the current moment and not get off kilter to get what's going to happen the next time I see them, or what's going to happen, and you know, what am I going to do next, or get bogged down into how I screwed things up in the past. Then we're in a position to then choose what's the right thing. One of the things that we talk about sometimes in the grief group is like, what are we doing to take care of ourselves physically. You know, with connection, with people, emotionally, and then physically. And physical has a lot to do. It's our body is the best friend we'll ever have. It's closest to us. It's been with us the whole time. We're more intimately connected to our body than to any other body. So how do we treat it? How do we treat ourselves? Do we look for good food, water, rest, and exercise, and do fun things? You know, for me, self-compassion is making it a priority to play pickleball. It is. It's a big, you know, it's because it feels good. I get social connection. I feel better. I get the cardio. I play. I'm playing. So it hits a number of buttons. So what, you know, also, you know, changing some of eating habits sometimes. You know, I notice, and I even notice differences in joints, inflammation and stuff when I change eating habits. And so, you know, those are just kind of different little things that we can do that can be self-compassionate, and it's not being narcissistic. Narcissism is really an ego, you know, trying to put out there, you know, it's a false confidence game. And she also, this book was more than what I could really do in 2 weeks. But one of the things that she talks about, you know, also is self-esteem versus self-compassion. And that self-esteem is kind of that ego. This is how my image of myself, my self-image, and it's not always real. You know, it's more of what we're saying. So I encourage everyone to come up with a mantra for yourself, a self-mantra, self-compassion, something that you can memorize, something you really believe, that really fits you, and that you can carry around with you when you get into the bumps and grinds of the different painful experiences that we're going to encounter, because we all are, because we're all human.
Thank you. So good. Thank you.
All right. Join us right after the service today in this room for the first planning meeting for our 8th annual Planet Unity Earth Day. Woo-hoo! This is our biggest fundraiser, and we would love to hear your ideas on how to make it bigger and better. This year's theme is Our Power, Our Planet. Please come to the meeting and hear what it's all about. Meditation is tonight at 6 p.m. and is open to everyone. The church office will be closed tomorrow, January 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day, Jr. The Grief Support Work Group meets every Friday at 6 p.m. Actually, we're switching that to second and fourth Fridays of every month. Second and fourth, 6 p.m. The group offers support to anyone experiencing any type of grief. Next Sunday, there will not be a 9:15 class. And an easy way to remember this, on Sundays when we have a potluck after the service, that is not a class morning. And next Sunday, our annual meeting and potluck is being held right after the service please plan to join us, learn what's going on with our church, and if you're planning on becoming a member of the church, you think you probably joined your church years ago but aren't sure, there's a list of active members in the office if you'd like to check. Please save the date for next new member ceremony on April 6th during the service. You can fill out a new member application in the office or on our website. During inclement weather, there are 2 ways to find out if any church activity or service has been canceled. Check your email, check Unity of Springfield's face page. When school is canceled, so are all the activities of church for the day. If you're not receiving these messages, you may sign the list in the foyer to be added to the communications. There are 2 Facebook pages that we post on, our regular Unity of Springfield page and our connection group page. Our shelter has been open 18 of the last 19 days, and this week is looking extremely cold. Donations are keeping our shelter going. We have made a list of our most needed items, and it's on the table in the foyer. Please take one if you would to help keep our shelves stocked. Everyone, please save the date for Sue's retirement party on May 10th. More details coming soon. In place of mailing the donation letters, we would like to hand out as many as we can. Dee will be in the foyer, so if you have donated $200 or more for 2024, please stop by and pick up your letter. That's it.
Thank you, John.